Hello everybody, this is Cruncher once again, and in this video I will be showing you how to fast expand with a forge against Zerg. And one reason I'm doing this video is because with the recent changes in the Blizzard map pool, they have added Tal'Darim Altar and Shakura's Plateau back to the pool. Now both of these maps are extremely good for Forge Fast Expo because it takes 3 buildings to wall off at your ramp. So, in this game, I just run through a computer to do the build order. And you can also see the nice Blizzard UI they added in the new patch. It's pretty cool. Alright, so, you send your probe at 9 to build the pylon. And once the pylon finishes, you current boost out probes. Now, what I like to do is scout my opponent, but usually I go for a 14 forge. Although if I see my opponent go for a hatch first, I'll always nexus first because there's no way they can kill you. However, he throws down a pool, so I throw down a forge. Now what you want to do is once you hit 15 supply, you want to keep on chrono boosting your probes until you hit 15. And it should be about 2 chrono boost. And once you get 15, you save minerals, and at 400 you build your nexus. Now, say he was doing like a 10 pool or something, then you would want to put down a cannon first. But as long as he's doing a 13 pool, you'll be safe and have time to throw down your nexus, your gate, and then a cannon. So I threw down my nexus, and then his pool was a 13 pool, so I have a lot of time left. So I throw down my gateway first, and then I'll throw down a cannon before I continue making probes. And you'll see how I place my cannon is right beside the pylon, because that's it, there. To finish this wall off, if I see he is doing some kind of 10 pool link rush, I can throw down a gateway and block off. But usually, you won't be getting link rushed, so you'll have time when the gateway finishes to throw down a core, and if it's right here, and it blocks your base off. Now the reason I put the cannon here instead of one spot back is because if he goes for a roach bust, if the cannon is one spot back, he can actually sit back here and destroy your forge, gateway, and cyber core with the patch a while back that increased the roach range to 4. So you have to have a cannon that's touching your front buildings to be able to defend them. Alright, so once you drop your cannon, you want to keep on scouting this probe and see what he's doing. Is he expoing? Is he getting gas? Is he massing leans? And what I do is chrono boost again, make probes, and get double gas at your base. Now this build I'm going for is I open Stargate and go for a fast Void Ray. And once that Void Ray comes out, he can't beat you with any kind of roach push, and it's also good for scouting, killing overlords, and just harassing your opponent. As you see, instead of making a pylon when I was at 18, I waited and for my nexus to finish to pump probes. And the reason for that is if I made a pylon exactly at 18, I can't chrono boost out probes of my main and my second and put it on the core at the same time. Because as you see, when my nexus finishes, I have 10 more supply. So I'm able to chrono boost both my nexus and my main and drop my core. So if you scout him again like I do this game and you see no expansion, you know he's doing some kind of one base all in. And the response to that is to get a sentry out and just drop more cannons down. And it's okay if you overproduce cannons because Zerg on 1 base, when you're in 2 base, there's no way they could beat you as long as you are safe against any kind of bust. And as for chrono boosting probes, generally what I do is chrono boost my main and my expansion once each, and it saves enough money so that I'm able to throw down a Stargate like that. So as you see, this cannon isn't actually touching any of these buildings, and the reason for that is that if a roach came up right here, he'd be just out of range to hit the cannon, but he could hit this cannon up here. So it's just a way to secure this cannon. Well, this cannon protects these buildings from being hit. This one protects this cannon from being hit. And generally, when you want to defend against some kind of roach bust, you want to have about a sentry or two with about 3 to 4 cannons. So as you see, once I get these cannons added and this sentry chrono boosted, I will continue making probes and chrono boosting them. And there's a lot of different strats you can actually do. There is, of course, the 6 gate, which you keep only 2 gas at your main, or 1 at your main, 1 at your natural. Either one's fine. Having 1 at your main and 1 at your natural confuses the opponent a little bit more, since if he scouts your main base and sees 1 gas, he has to scout your Expo too and see whether you have gas. So usually that gets you 2 Overlord kills. So, as I was saying, yeah, the 6 gate is usually you go 2 gas with the 6 gate, although you can do a 3 gas or even a 4 gas if you want to do some kind of 6 gate tech. And there's also the 5 gate robo, which you want a bunch of gas with, of course. And then there's the fast Stargate, which is my favorite build. The reason I like this is that it lets me get a fast void ray, so if he's doing some kind of bust, the void ray will defend super easy. And it also lets me harass overlords and get some map control. I'm able to go to the Zanaga towers and kill any Zerglings that are scouting to keep them in the dark as much as possible. It also lets me get out of Phoenix, and when you hit about 4 Phoenix against a Zerg, if they don't have any kind of spore colonies or extra queens or hydralisk, you can really do a lot of damage by killing queens, overlords, and drones. And it also gets you perfect scouting. You can see, is he going roaches, is he going hydras, is he going first to kind of drop, a nidus, mutalisk. And a Stargate is good against all of those because, of course, Void Ray Colossi is pretty much the ultimate death ball. And if he's going Mutalisk, you can also throw down a second Stargate and just pump out a ton of Phoenix and defend easily. So as you see how I set my cannons up, this one's touching. So to kill this cannon, he has to come up here, and it's pretty safe. There's pretty much no chance of me getting busted with 2 sentries. And of course, if I saw he was coming with a bust with a bunch of roaches, you just drop 2 more cannons back here behind your pylon. What you want to do is save your force fields, and save them to block the building that he kills. Because if he comes with 10 roaches, say, he comes up here and he kills, say, all 3 cannons. And then he comes and kills the forge. You want to save these force fields so that once the forge dies, you just force field, and the force will actually block the same area as a forge. So it's pretty much having about 30 more seconds of time to get cannons down. So if he busts you, drop some more cannons in the back, and just save force fields. And it buys you also time for your void ray, because usually a roach bust in the game time comes at about 6:30 in these positions. So buying yourself 30 more seconds will get this void ray out in time, get 2 to 3 more cannons down in time, and it also lets you rebuild some buildings back here. So what you want to do when you do a fast expo is get a 16 probe split at your main and your natural as soon as possible. Because once you hit 16 probes at each base, you're getting 70% of the income, and once you get anything over 16 probes, the ratio has diminishing returns, so it's not as efficient. So the idea is that you want to hit 16 as fast as possible, get the fastest economy you can, then pump out units while continuing to make probes after that to take a third base. Now, I would recommend most people who are doing this build for the first time is to get a friend and just run over the build a couple times so you can see some timings and see placement and how to deal with certain stuff. But generally this is pretty much unbustable because it gives you enough time to get your void ray out so that, say he does some kind of 8-minute huge baneling bust with roaches and speedlings, well, by the time that actually comes, you're going to have warp gate finished, you're going to have sentries with a bunch of force fields, and of course you're going to have void rays. So you'll be pretty safe. And if you choose some kind of 5 or 6 gate, you of course want to chrono boost out the warp gate and drop more gates instead of dropping a stargate. So ideally when you do this and you get your saturation to 16 and you continually add probes, you want to take your third base around the time that you have 24 probes at each base. Of course it depends on how the game is being played out. If he's going all economy, you want to expo a little faster. If he's going for a huge 2-base army, you want to expo a little later. But generally it's about the time that you hit 24 probes at each base. You take your third base and you take each from your main, your natural, and you send them to your expo. And that gives you a 16-16-16 split again, which is of course optimal for PvZ. Because you don't really want to overproduce on probes, because if you go for the death ball, which is void ray colossi, the gas on 6 base is supported by 16 probes at each base. And that gets you pretty much the optimal amount of minerals to gas ratio without having an extra, 1,000 minerals or something like that. And of course, when you go for the death ball, you want as much units as possible in actual units instead of workers as well. So this is how you forge fast expo against Zerg, and on most maps, say like Metalopolis, I wouldn't forge fast expo on a map like that because of how wide the choke is. It takes like 10 cannons to actually defend your entire expo. So on maps like this though, Shakira's and Taldur Malter, forge fast expo is definitely viable and probably one of the best strats you can practice against Zerg.